All right. So welcome, Ron, to another Scaling Brokerage podcast. We're super excited to have him here and tell us a little bit more about his journey, his journey as a real estate brokerage owner and all of the trials, errors, and everything he was able to push through in order to get there. But before we go ahead and get started on talking about all of that stuff, Ron, if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit more about why you became a brokerage owner and a little bit more about your brokerage?
Sure. So when before I got into real estate, my family had an automobile dealership. I begrudgingly worked there because my dad asked for more family to be involved in the business. In 1990, we closed the business, and it was now my opportunity to decide what I wanted to do with my life. And I decided I had bought some property while I was working at that dealership, and decided I really liked real estate. So I went to work for the company that we hired to actually sell our property, and it's Jameson Realty. And so I started in their commercial division. They had a separate real estate office in the River North area of Chicago. So I started there in 1990. While I was there, the owners of the company at the time got involved in development, which I was interested in. So I eventually they merged the offices, and I started to do more development together with some commercial transactions. I was with them for 5 years. In 1995, I was recruited by the Habitat Company, which at the time had a brokerage business. They're one of the largest property management companies in the country, but at the time they had a brokerage, so they hired me to run their commercial brokerage. I did that, and while I was there, I put this deal together in the Old Town neighborhood of Chicago with a developer that I had met when I was at Jameson. And we realized, halfway through selling that development, that we should start a company to just do it on our own. So we formed our own company in 2000. It's called First Chicago Realty Corp, which is our parent company. And then so we did that, and we basically, sold out the remaining condos in that development, and then we decided to, in 2006, realize that we needed to do something to expand our real estate company, because I kind of saw the handwriting on the wall that the development side of the business was going to start slowing down, and we needed to kind of expand beyond just doing development. So at that point, I was approached by Weichert and a number of other companies, and so we considered whether we wanted to stay independent or affiliate, and we were very thrilled with the stuff that Weichert offered. So we ended up joining them in 2007, and we're still a Weichert franchise today. So that's kind of how I got into the brokerage business. I bought my partners out. Oh God, it's probably about 10 years ago. So I've been, the managing broker and owner of the company since then, and yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
That's great. And for anyone listening right now too, so how many agents do you currently have right now as a brokerage owner?
We currently have 18. We've scaled between 15 and 30 agents throughout. I'm not interested in like having a mega brokerage. That's not my style. I like to have, hands-on, one-on-one discussions with my brokers and try to mentor them. And I just, it's just not the model for me where you have like, hundreds or thousands of agents. So we have right now, I think we're about 18 agents.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. And so one of the biggest things, because there was COVID, and then there was also the post NAR thing. There was a lot of people freaking out about that. How did you overcome those challenges and continue to like push through with your brokerage? Because you seems like you have 18 agents still. So what did you do to continue in both of those situations?
Yeah, well, there's been a few challenges, and I've been doing this for almost 35 years, so there's been definitely ups and downs in the industry, which is, it's cyclical like most things in life. So I think the first real challenge I had was in 2008 when we had this, the last major recession that we had. Um, and that was tough. We were still doing a lot of development at that time, and I think by joining Weichert, that really helped us because it provided us with a lot of tools and systems that allowed us to expand our business at a time when there was a lot of contraction going on. Um, it's interesting during the pandemic. Um, we had some of our better years in business. I'm not quite sure why. I think that we were still, luckily realtors were allowed to continue doing business. It was obviously challenging, just showing properties and trying to contain, you know, transmitting the virus and so on. So we were able to, we got through that. Um, and like I said, it was actually, our business was pretty good during that time, knock on wood. Um, the NAR thing, that's a really interesting thing. I think that's going to change the industry more than anything. Um, what I've determined by, and I've been doing a lot of research and training about, how to navigate through this NAR settlement. Um, my take on it is pretty simple. I think the strong are going to survive and the weak are going to drop out of the industry. And what do I mean by strong? Well, strong brokers are brokers that are not treating this as like a hobby, and they're full-time, um, experienced, and are able to sell their expertise and value to the consumer. Um, this is, and I think that those brokers that are able to do that effectively will actually increase their business because I think there will be, a, a reduction in the number of agents that are staying in the real estate business. So there'll be less competition for them. Um, as far as commission rates and stuff, I think we're going to have to kind of see how that shakes out. I don't think there's going to be a lot of difference. I think that you know, I totally think that the lawsuit, like most realtors, was stupid and really didn't do anything to help the consumer. I think what will ultimately happen, because pricing always included commissions for both parties. It was always factored in there. I think that that's not really going to change. I think that eventually, um, either the sellers will continue to offer compensation to cooperating brokers, and if not, then the buyer is going to factor that into their price, and then probably after they come to a deal, go back to the seller and try to get them to figure out how to get that commission paid so they don't have to come out of pocket. I think this is going to take a couple months to kind of see how this shakes out, but ultimately, I think we'll come out ahead as a result because I think my brokers are pretty well educated and experienced, and I've been fortunate to have a number of agents with me that have been with me since we started the company. So, that's helpful. It's hard when you get a lot of new agents in that are not, they think that they think that real estate is easy, and you're just going to make a ton of money, but they don't realize that there's a lot behind it that you have to do in order to be successful. So
Yeah,
does
I
that
feel
answer
like
that? Good.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these, even these TV shows nowadays, make it look like real estate is just you get your license and then you just start selling, 1 million, 2 million, $3 million homes. So
Oh
have you
yeah.
noticed? Yeah.
You're
So
driving your, Ferraris and Maseratis, and it's simple. You just have to
yeah,
show up, wake up in the morning, and yeah, it's
yeah.
not
They,
like that.
and then they get into the office and then they're like cold call or open house or door knocking. What is this part of the real estate? So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
yeah. So, question then. So I know those two, and I think you had a great point because you talk about how it's going to be beneficial to the brokers who treat this serious and everything. Obviously, you've been a very serious brokerage owner for owning one for so many years. What would you say has been like the biggest challenge as a brokerage owner since opening the brokerage?
Um, I mean, the, I think the most important part of the real estate business as a broker owner is having good people working with you. And it's challenging I mean, it's very competitive out there. There's a lot of real estate companies, and a lot of everybody's kind of chasing the same people to kind of bring them on board and try to recruit them. So, again, like I've said, I'm not looking to grow my business to, like a mega brokerage. But even in our size, and I would consider ourselves more of a boutique company, finding and retaining, and hiring good brokers is probably the biggest challenge. And then, training them, so that they become very good at what they're going to do. And so I think that's the challenge, and that just takes, focus and, you know, dedication to doing it.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you after that. So, like, what do you look for in your agents? Since you said you do look for people who are good people to work with, what are some of those characteristics?
Well, I can tell you that Jim Weichert, who was the founder of Weichert Realtors, and they're headquartered in New Jersey. Um, One of the things that he said early on when I met him was that he believes that you can take a willing person and help them become able, but you can't necessarily take an able person and get them to be willing. So I look for like people that are very willing and eager and hungry and wanting to, succeed. Um, and are willing to kind of be open to learning, how to do things how I would consider the right way. I've got a dog that's letting me know that the mail has arrived. um, Hang on, I'm gonna go get him off his thing here. This is Kristen. This is the key to my success right here.
Oh wow!
Romeo, the key to my success, right?
Aw.
He's believe it or not, he's almost 18 years old. He still
Oh
acts like
wow!
a puppy. Yeah,
Yeah, it looks like a puppy. I was gonna say.
he does.
Wow.
He acts like a puppy, looks like a puppy, but he's having trouble lately. Like he can't see very well, so he runs into things. But other than that, he's okay. Um, and anyway, so yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest challenge. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of other challenges. Um, I mean, just the day, daily running of the business, and kind of overseeing all the different areas, the marketing, and I have a marketing person. But again, I think one of the reasons that we went with Weichert was because really they have excellent tools and systems in place already. They provide us with a CRM. The platform is on KV Core, which is a big CRM company. But they've customized this so that we have the ability to it gives our agents their own website, for instance. So we get leads generated through there. We can follow up with clients easily through the CRM. Um, and that's, that those kind of tools. Plus, Weichert has a thing called the Design Center. We have our own marketing person, so we're able to you know to to deal with a lot of the challenges of the business, which is, good marketing, effective marketing, and lead capture, and that's all been. I think it's helped us a lot that we've affiliated with Weichert in those areas. I mean, I know we could have probably done this on our own without their support, but I think it's hard to kind of reinvent the wheel. So, I think that's helped us a lot through a lot of the challenges that we've had.
Yeah, and I love that quote. So looking for the willing people.
Yeah, willing people.
Willing people.
Yeah, people that are, willing is a good word. They
Yeah.
want, they want to learn, they want to grow, they want to commit to the business. There's a lot of people out there that are, that are smart and, talented and so on, but if they're really not willing to put the effort in and do everything that's needed to be successful, they're not going to succeed.
Yeah, definitely. And you say you have 18 agents. So I don't know if you've heard this stat before, but there's obviously over 100,000 brokerages in the United States. 80% of the brokerage owners have 7 agents or less.
Yeah.
So being in that top 20%, how did you find these 18 willing agents? Or, because you've been able to build this team of, 18 up to 30 people.
Mhm.
A lot of the listeners here are looking to grow, to get to either 10, 20, 30, even 50 agents.
Mhm.
So what would you recommend for them as far as like the strategies and how you went about recruiting those 18 agents?
Well, in the beginning, when we were strictly doing development, when we started the business, it was a different kind of recruiting tactic. We would have sales centers that agents would sit in and basically, sell the development projects that we were working on. It was those agents, they were easier to get interested in getting into real estate because they saw it as a more secure type of, you know, business. The lead, they were not having to go out and prospect, and they were basically sitting in a sales center, and the leads were coming in that we were providing by, marketing those projects. Um, Many of those agents that started with me in that capacity, as we expanded and became a more full service brokerage, they stayed with us and they've become very successful in their own right. Um, you know, the the people since that time, I've recruited in a number of ways. One of the best, most effective ways is through the agents in the office. Who do they come in contact with that they actually enjoyed working with? I asked them to give us their name. We have a compensation plan where we will compensate any agents in our office that bring somebody in that's a good agent. They get compensated based on the first couple of transactions that new agent produces. So that's one way we get agents now. Um, we we get them through our CRM. We do actually some recruiting on through that threshold. That's not the right word. Through that, whatever. Through the CRM, we're able to, focus on certain agents that we might want to recruit that are more experienced agents, and then we can, do a, follow up through the CRM and phone calls and so on. Most of the agents though that I've recruited over time have been new agents where we teach them, from the beginning how to be successful, as opposed to, hiring experienced agents that kind of have their own way of doing things. We like to do things a certain way, that Weichert has taught us in terms of, how to be effective. Um, I don't know if that answered that question or not, but
No, it does, and I think that was a great point too, because I've talked to a lot of brokerage owners, and they've said the same thing. Finding those new agents that are willing, kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier. They're not stuck on old ways. They're
right.
eager to learn. So yeah, that's great. And so are you still doing these strategies right now, or you just have those 18 agents? Are you still actively doing that?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I'm 70, I'm going to be 71 years old. I've been doing this for 35 years. So, I'm, you know, my I'm not as active in recruiting as I was in the past. I just hired somebody, last week that was referred to me by one of the brokers in my office. And so I'm always looking, but I'm not really aggressively recruiting people. Now I like the group that we have. We have I think, 18 to 20 brokers in the office is a good size for my company. And I'm, when the opportunity arises, if I do come across somebody that I think would be good, and I'm always, talking to people. If I go to a restaurant, I tell, the server, what I do, and, give them my card, and if they're ever interested in real estate, to give me a call. Um, I've hired, I mean, I'll tell you a funny story. I hired an agent that I met on a dating site, and we went out, and we liked each other, but we weren't a match. But she owned a number of buildings, and you know and I said, well, why don't you let me, help you buy your next building? So I did. I helped her buy a building. And then I said, you know what? Why don't you get your license? You'd be really good in real estate. You own buildings, you buy buildings, you can basically, capture that commission that you're not getting when you're not licensed. And and sure enough, she went and got her license, and she's very successful, has a good following of people, and and continues to buy properties on her own. So, I guess you can meet people in this business in many different ways. Not
That's
not that
incredible.
I'm not that I'm suggesting people go to dating sites to do their major recruiting, but I guess it is one method.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, dating sites, there's
Dating
definitely
sites, that's the key.
there's
That's
no
the key.
excuse. There really isn't. I feel like if you can get in front of people, and like I think everything comes back to the willing part. That was such a good quote that you
Yeah.
stated. Okay, so I know you
And
said
I'll give you another quote. I'll give you another good Jim Weichert quote. Um, People buy people before they buy goods and services.
I
That's
love that.
another Jim Weichert quote. I really like that quote too, and it's true. I mean, part of it, when you're recruiting brokers or when you're working with clients, you're basically selling yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
you can sell the company, you can sell, the tools and systems, but somebody has to feel good about you as the person that they're going to be doing business with, either as a broker or as a client. So I thought that was always, it was one of the earlier quotes I learned from him, heard from him.
that's
By the
great.
way, back to the dating site thing, I would not advise anybody who's married to use
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
Let's
Let's
put an
disclose
asterisk
that right
in
now.
that. Right.
They'll be like, Ron, I heard a podcast. Ron told me to do this.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Just don't use my last name. I don't want their wives coming out or husbands coming
yeah.
after me.
Oh,
Uh,
that's okay. So that's awesome. So you kind of, you're not like actively like aggressively recruiting, you say, but you're still, looking for agent opportunities and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because a lot of our listeners, that's the main thing they want to do. They want to learn how to expand. They want to learn how to grow and recruit agents. But just like overall for your brokerage, um, what do you see? Like, where do you see the future of your brokerage, and how do you plan to stay ahead of the curve in the brokerage industry with everything?
Well, I think the future of my brokerage, well, I think there's going to be some challenges because of the NAR settlement. I mean, like I said, I will always keep a real estate license. I'm not sure how, I may transition out of owning the company in the next few years. It's something I'm starting to think about, from a retirement standpoint. I'm talking to some other Weichert franchisees about possibly, merging my company in with theirs, or, selling my company to them. But I think that's a couple years off. Um, you know, I don't know. Maybe one of my agents might want to, take over. I have two sons that have no interest in real estate, unfortunately. But yeah, that's
Awesome.
kind of, I mean, I don't know. I wake up every day and you never know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Every day is a new day. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I know that, I mean, I would suggest for people that are, like people that are trying to expand their business, or they're becoming new, they're starting a new brokerage business. I guess some of the advice I would give is be patient, because it takes time to grow a business. Be have enough capital to be able to, you know, keep your business going. Educate yourself. Get around people that are smarter than you and learn from them. Um, if you really want to grow the business, to any great size, you need to recruit. So you need to focus on that. You need to spend, I mean, if you really want to be successful at recruiting, you just have to, schedule in your calendar every day and do it, and make the phone calls, and, so on and so forth. And then I think the last thing is, for people that are thinking about getting into the business, my experience in the last 17 years of my 35 years in real estate have been with a franchisor. And I think that's one effective way of growing your business, because they're there supporting you, giving you tools and systems that enable you to grow your business, I think, faster and more effectively and efficiently. So, I guess that's kind of what I would, those are kind of the things I would suggest for somebody new in the business.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was gonna be the question I was gonna ask you, is if you had to rebuild. So you patient, educate yourself, definitely focus on recruiting. And just curious, like, for people who maybe, like, let's say they wanted to get to, 10, 20 agents, how much time would you dedicate to that recruiting side? When you say focus
But
on recruiting, because I
they're
know a lot of,
starting from zero. I mean, if they're like starting a business and they don't have any agents working with them,
yeah.
they, well, if their goal is to grow their business, um, then I would say that you probably need to spend at least an hour a day, you know, going through the different ways of recruiting. I mean, if you're starting off, you don't have a CRM, you don't have the tools, you know, you need to, I mean, you need to, you know, there's lots of things you can do. Like Weichert has a thing called the career nights, where, which a lot of the newer companies, newer franchisees are very, practice religiously. Every generally Tuesday night, in the evening, they will have a career night. They will promote the career night. They will try to bring people into their office to do a presentation about, the benefits of getting into the real estate business. This is for new people that are not in real estate at all. And and then talking about the process of getting licensed, and it's basically an informational seminar for for usually an hour or so, 45 minutes or an hour. And then that's how to get new people that might be interested in getting in the business. I mean, some people advertise on places like Indeed and stuff like that. I mean, there are lots of ways to go about trying to um, you know, get, it's like a funnel. You want to get, as many people into the funnel as you can. And then, through that process, one or two or three people might actually be interested in and take the next step and decide to go to real estate school and get their license and so on. That's a longer kind of route. It takes time to do that. It takes patience to do that. When it comes to recruiting experienced agents, which again, it's more difficult for a brand new broker to do that, because they what are they going to offer this experienced agent that might be doing well where they're at? It's hard to recruit somebody who's happy where they're currently at. But there are ways to do that. Identifying who's working in your area, who's productive, who's not productive, who might need somebody to give them more one-on-one attention and training and so on. But I think you have to have, as a new brokerage, you have to be able to provide something of value to the people you're recruiting. You have to be able to, you have to be able to train them. You have to be able to, have all those tools and systems in place. The marketing, everything has to be there before you start bringing people in, because they're going to flounder if you're not able to help them with their growing their own business. So,
Yeah.
And which is
Yeah.
another reason why, a lot of people will choose to go with a franchise, because, that stuff's already in place. If you're starting off from scratch and you're growing this business, it's a little more complicated. It's a little more difficult.
Gotcha. No, I think that's a great point too. That's probably one of the key conversations that I always, a lot of successful brokerage owners stem back to is, you got to have like a unique value proposition in order to get these agents to actually join your brokerage. And then on top of that, you need to be able to deliver it. So, that's probably one of the biggest things, before they
Very
even
well
start
put. Very
recruiting.
well put. Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. And
Yeah.
I mean, the value proposition, wh- a managing broker is basically doing what the broker's working under he or she should be doing, which is really prospecting for new brokers. Agents are prospecting for clients, and managing brokers are I mean, one of their jobs, besides running the office and training and everything else, is prospecting for, new agents or experienced agents. And that is, as you said, that you have to be able to, deliver and have, a value proposition that is appealing to people. And I mean, there's a lot of companies out there, and there are a lot of good companies out there. But as I said earlier, what really, I mean, you have to have those tools in place, but what's really going to get somebody to come work for you is you.
Yeah.
As the broker. They're going to want to work for you. They're going to see something in you that's going to make them feel like this is a place I want to be. And that, you have to have the experience, you have to have the tools, you have to, be ready for that, and have that, be able to deliver what you promise. So I think you stated that quite well. By the way, just a little plug here. If any of your listeners are interested in the franchise side of things, they're welcome to reach out to me. You can, I don't know how you disseminate my info, but they're welcome to reach out to me. I can certainly put them in touch with the right people at Weichert if they'd like to have a conversation with them. I can tell you what Weichert does that I found was really unique. When we signed up, they basically came in, they said, look, this is what we do. This is our value proposition. And then they said, we will fly you out to New Jersey to our headquarters. We'll put you up in a hotel. We'll take you out to a nice dinner. And then the next day we will take you and show you what we do and take you through our offices. They have a 200-acre campus in New Jersey. Show us everything that they provide. And then, you go back, think about it. And if you're interested, let us know. If not, no harm, no foul. And I thought that was, and what they showed us was pretty amazing stuff. So, and at the time, I went with my business partner, who was very skeptical about stuff. And it's like, what do we need this for? But he was very impressed as well. So, I'm happy to help people in that regard. If they're interested in talking to me about it, I can give them more information specifically about Wyke. And I know this whole thing is not about franchises, but we found that to be a successful model for us, and I'm happy to help other people if they think that might be something to look at. Kind of give them more information about Wyke and put them in touch with the right people to talk to if they're interested.
Absolutely. No, yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, definitely sharing what has helped you along the way is very important, because could be very helpful for people. So, but Ron, I mean, this has been an incredibly valuable conversation. I do think a lot of brokerage owners are going to find a lot of value in this when it comes to scaling. Like I said, if anyone who's listening, if you're at the 5 agent, 10 agent mark, this is going to be a very helpful call, something that you can listen to again, to kind of take note of the specific things, like, making sure that you're focusing on recruiting, making sure you're staying patient, educating yourself, even the career nights. That was a huge bonus that I think a lot of brokerage owners can, have with. And then just having like those systems and, selling yourself first and then the goods and services after, and finding the willing people. So, I mean, there's a lot of great things in this conversation. And, for the Scaling Brokerage podcast, Ron, we always appreciate people who are willing to hop on and share exactly, their journey and what's working. Cause there's probably someone out there that can definitely benefit from this information. But I know you mentioned, to reach out to you. So, so before we sign off, like, how can our listeners learn more about you and your brokerage? Do you have a website, social media, contact information? How do you prefer that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have a website. Our company has a website, Wyke Realtors for Chicago. The best way to reach me is either email or phone. My phone is 312-320-8807. My email, the best email for me is Ron, R-O-N, Ruby, R-U-B-Y, 123@gmail.com. I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. I'm too old to be on Snapchat. I'm not a TikToker. I'm not a Twitter guy either, but so, I mean, I'm pretty easy to find. Like I said, I'm happy to have conversations with anybody at any time if they want to learn more and have more questions directly to me about my business and, how I can help them. I think that's another aspect is as a broker, a managing broker running a company, you really have to want to help people. I mean, that has to be part of your DNA. I mean, you have to, I mean, that's the joy I get out of it. The rewards I get out of it is seeing, watching people's businesses grow because I was able to help them in some way. So you have to be willing as a broker too. By the way, just one last thing for you. At some point, I'd like to have a conversation with you because I'm curious about your podcast and how you got involved in doing this and, what your mission is. But we can do that kind of offline at some point. I'll give you a call. I got your number, but that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do have a few. Let's wrap up. So yeah, we appreciate you having you here, Ron. And we'll talk to you soon.